好啦，大家好啦，咁我哋又翻嚟我哋嘅學習時間啦。咁今日咧主要係補充下我哋上次影片嘅一啲細節，咁同埋同大家做啲 exercise。咁我哋而家開始啦。咁首先咧睇下呢度 doing work on the coil. So moving the magnet against the induced magnetic field, you must do work. Okay, so we know that if you move the magnet to work the coil or to move the coil to work the magnet, then there is some induced current. So in this situation, you must do work. Okay, so what's the physical meaning of this sentence? Let's see the second page. So in a closed circuit, so the numbers of enclosed field lines change. So if there is change in B, okay, then there will be induced EMF, induced voltage, or induced current. Okay, so which is opposite to the change of the original magnetic field. So let's see what happened in this case. The magnetic field line is pointing toward the right hand side. Okay, so from the north pole to the south pole. So when the magnet moving toward the coil, then more and more field lines pass to the right hand side. Okay, so more and more field lines will pass through the solenoid, which is pointing toward the right hand side. So the solenoid will create the magnetic field lines which point to left hand side in order to opposite this trend, because there are more field lines point to the right hand side. So some field lines are created and point toward the left hand side. So in this case, you can use the right hand grip rules to find the directions of current. Okay, so the directions of current is shown here. So the directions of current. So I will add some arrows here. So here is the directions of current. And then, as you can see, the magnetic field line is coming out from the left end. So the left end will be the north pole and the right end will be the south pole. So in this case, the two north poles are close to each other. So when you are moving the magnet toward the solenoid, then you need to overcome the repulsive force. So you need to apply force toward the solenoid and then to overcome the repulsion. So in this case, you provide work or provide energy to the to the magnet. Sorry. So you need to provide work done in order to overcome the repulsive force between the two north poles. So the energy is converted from the magnet to the solenoid. So you can imagine that originally there is no current. That means there is no electrical power. And after you move the magnet toward the coil, then there is electrical energy or electrical power. So the energy can't be created or destroyed. So where does the energies come from? So actually, you need to apply the force to move the magnet. Okay, so and the magnet has the kinetic energy or the energy you provide. Then the energy of the magnet will convert into the electrical energy. So in this case, actually it obeys the laws of conservation of energy. So the electrical power is actually comes from the energy of the magnet. And then in an open circuit, although there is induced voltage, however, there is no complete circuit, so that there will be no induced current, no opposing force, and no work is required, because you can't create any current for the solenoid because it's the open circuit. Okay, so if you try to move a closed coils toward a magnet, or move the magnet toward the coils, then you have to do work because of the repulsive force. Because of the repulsive force toward each other. Okay, so the mechanical work done by you is converted into the electrical energy, and then it obeys the laws of conservation of energy. So you need to do work to against the opposing force. And here is another example. So if you drop the magnet through the copper tube, then you will find that the acceleration of the magnet is lower than the gravitational field strength. Oh, yeah. So the acceleration, yes, the acceleration of the magnet is lower than the gravitational field strength. Why? Okay, so if you drop the magnet into the tube, okay, so I will draw another diagrams. So if you draw, it's so difficult. If you draw a tube and then to drop a magnet into the tube, then what will happen? So, for example, the lower side is the north pole. Okay, so the lower side is north pole, and then the upper side is the south pole. Then the magnetic field lines will pointing downward. So when it passes through this part of the tube, okay, so more and more field lines pointing down, right? So this ring will create the magnetic field lines pointing up. So in this case, for this small tube, it becomes a magnet. So here is the north pole, here is the south pole. So there is repulsion on the magnet and to slow the motions down. So again, when the magnet is dropping through the tube, then the field lines will pass through the tube. Okay, so if we consider the part which is below the magnet, then there will be induced magnetic field, and the induced magnetic field is pointing up. Okay, so it creates the repulsion and to make the magnet to fall in a slower rate. So what will happen if the induced field reinforce the change to produces it? Then it's violations of the conservation of energy. So what's the meanings of this sentence? So imagine only, okay? So imagine that if you move a magnet toward a coil, and then the induced field lines will cause the attraction. If this coil attract the magnet, then the magnet will move in a higher and higher velocity. Okay, so if they are attracted to each other, then the velocity will be increased and the kinetic energy will be increased. So in this case, you create some energy because the kinetic energy increase, and there is also the electrical power. So it violates the laws of conservation of energy because there is no energy loss, but the energy keeps increasing. So for any different kind of induction, then the velocity of the magnet must be decreased. Okay, so even if the magnet is moving away from the coil, the velocity will still be decreased. So you can draw the diagrams on your own. Okay, and now so we'll see some examples. In each case, add a cross or a dot inside the circle to indicate the directions of the induced current when the conductor is moved across the magnetic field. Okay, so in this case, we need to apply the right-hand rules. your thumb is velocity, your pointing finger is magnetic field, and then the current is your middle finger. Okay, so I will give you 10 seconds to find a direction. So the current should be pointing inward. Okay, so if you apply the right hand rules. So the second one, if the velocity is not perpendicular to the magnetic field, then what can you do? So in this case, you can resolve the velocity because velocity is also a vector. Okay, so the horizontal one is useless. So in this case, the directions of the velocity can be converted into upward. Okay, because the horizontal velocity doesn't change the induced voltage. So in this case, I give you 5 seconds. Okay, the induced current is coming out. So same to this one, resolve the velocity. And then the parallel directions of velocity is useless. And applied the right hand rules to find the directions of the induced current, which is pointing inward. Okay, so now a conducting wire is moved in a uniform magnetic field. In the following situations, will an EMF be induced across the two ends? If yes, what is the directions of the induced EMF? So again, apply the right hand rules. So the first one, yes, from left to right. So how about this one? No, because the directions of the velocity is parallel to the directions of the magnetic field. So how about this one? Okay, so it seems that there is current, right? The directions of the velocity is perpendicular to the directions of the magnetic field. So in this case, there should be induced current. But what is the directions of the induced current? The directions of the induced current is pointing inward, right? It's pointing inward. However, the wire is from this corner to another corner. So you can imagine that the electrons can't move perpendicular to the wall. Okay, so it can't pass through the wall, right? So even there is voltage, but there will not be current because the current can't pass through the container. Okay, so it can only float from this end to this end or reverse the directions, but not pointing into the paper and pointing out of the paper. So there will be no current. So and then this one, yes, from right to left. Yes, pointing into the paper. Okay, so the last one. So this one is quite tricky. Okay, so you can imagine that you're rotating a very thick rock, right? So here are some positively charged. Okay, so you can imagine that when you rotate this rock, then the positively charged will be rotated as well. So in this case, you can apply the right hand rules and to find that the directions of current will point to the edge. Okay, so the force acting on the charge will pointing to the edge. So in the other way, if there is electrons, then the electrons will move toward the center. Okay, so of course when all the charge move to the container, then there will be no current. Or after all the electrons move to the center, then there will be no more float in charge. Okay, so the second one, we will discuss more complicated examples. So by relative motions of the magnet. Okay, so if the magnet is coming close to work the loop, or the loop coming close to work the magnet, then there will be induced current. Okay, so the second one by the electromagnet. So what is the electromagnet? It's a solenoid. So if you apply the current to the solenoid, then it will create magnetic field. So if you apply current to the solenoid, then it will create magnetic field. So I have this device in the physics lab, and I will show you after we return to school. So if you put a ring here, and this is the wire, okay, so after you apply the current to the solenoid, and this ring will jump to a certain height, okay, because it's same to the case which you drop. It seems to the case that you drop the magnet into a tube, right? There is a repulsion to make the magnet to slow down. Okay, so you can imagine that if the repulsion is very large, then this ring will jump out of the tube. Okay, so in this case, the repulsion is very large, so the ring will jump to a certain height. And the second one, the two separated coils. So at the moment we close the switch in coil P, so a current pulse is produced in coil Q. So why? So before you switch, before you close the switch, there is no current, okay, and no magnetic field. However, after you close the switch, then there is current flowing from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. So current flowing from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. So use the right hand grip rule. Use the right hand grip rule and coil. Oh my god. So let it be. So use the right hand grip rule, and you will find that there is some magnetic field created by P. Okay, so which point to work P? So there is some magnetic field created by P. So you can use the right hand grip rule to find the directions of the magnetic field. Okay, so originally there is no magnetic field pass through Q before you close the switch. Okay, so after you close the switch, there is some magnetic field pass through Q. So according to the Lenz's law, then the coil Q will create the magnetic field lines which oppose this trend. Okay, it will create the magnetic field lines which oppose this trend. Then you will see the deflection or the reading from this ammeter. Okay, so here is the electrical power is actually come from the change in magnetic field. So this is the reason why. So if you plug the plug into the socket, or to remove it, sometimes you will see some fire or the spark spilling out from the socket. 你有冇試過插頭同掹插頭嘅時候有啲火花啊？點解啊？就係因為佢有 induced current， 即係佢又冇 magnetic field 變咗就有 magnetic field， 咁佢就會有啲 induced current， 所以就會有火花。Okay, so here is the falling magnet or the coil. So when a magnet falls under gravity, then it accelerates downward. So both relative motion and the magnetic field are not uniform. So because the magnet is accelerating, right? And the magnetic field will become stronger and stronger. So when it comes to the tube, okay, then what will happen? So this diagram shows the EMF over time has two poles. Okay, so what's the physical meanings of these two poles? So I will draw the diagram. Okay, so wait. Oh, it's very difficult to draw. Wait. I don't know what to do. Wait. Okay. So that's it. So if you draw a magnet, okay, so before you drop it, then the magnetic field line is passing the tube downward, right? So when it comes closer and closer, then more field lines passing downward. Okay, so it will create the opposite magnetic field lines. Okay, so at first the magnetic field lines is pointing up. Okay, so when the magnet is dropping down, so after a certain time, okay, so I will draw another diagram. Please wait. Ah. Okay, so you can imagine that after a certain time, then the magnet may draw to this position, right? May drop to this position. So in this case, less and less field lines coming down. Okay, so because the magnet is falling apart from the tube. Okay, so less and less field lines pointing down. So in this case, the solenoid will create some magnetic field lines pointing down. So again, when the magnet is moving away from the tube, then less and less field lines pointing down. The solenoid will create the field lines pointing downward. So originally, the magnetic field is pointing up. Okay, and finally, the magnetic field is pointing down. So they have the opposite direction. Okay, so they change the directions of the magnetic field or the current. So you will see two poles. So first is negative or positive. The second one is has the opposite sign. And you can see that they have different amplitude, right? So they have different amplitude, or the maximum magnitude of them are different. Why? Because the velocity is different. So if the magnet is accelerating, then the time needed to pass through the second half is faster. Okay, so the magnet dropping through the second half has a higher velocity. Okay, so which the velocity for the first half is smaller. So in this case, the faster the magnet, the stronger the induced EMF. Okay, so it's easy to understand. If you move the magnet in a faster way to work the solenoid, then you will have a stronger induced EMF or induced current. So in this case, the magnet is accelerating. So for the second half, then it has a stronger induced EMF. Okay, so and then you see that there is a position which is zeroed or no induced EMF. So when the magnet drop to the middle part, drop to the middle of the solenoid, then there will be no induced EMF. So there is another example which gives you the same diagram. So you can drop a ring through the magnet, then sure you get the same trend. Okay, so you can try to apply the Lenz's law and to plot this diagram on your own. Okay, so we will have a summary. So what is the Faraday's law? So the Faraday's law tells you that an induced EMF is induced along the loop whenever the numbers of field lines enclosed by the loop is changing. Okay, so if the field lines enclosed by the loop change from 4 into 5, okay, then there will be induced EMF. That will be induced EMF。我覺得我應該買一部 iPad Pro，好辛苦啊，我 mouse 嚟寫。So its magnitude is directly proportional to the rate at which the numbers of enclosed field lines increase or decrease。如果佢1秒之內多咗10條 field lines，同2秒之內多咗10條 field lines，咁1秒之內多10條 field lines 嘅咧，就會有 high induced voltage。咁呢個就係 Faraday's law 話你聽。咁呢個 Faraday 咧就係法拉第。咁咧佢就係之前有提過佢嘅，就係呢個 Ohms 嘅恩人啊。OK， 呢個 Ohms 咧好想做大學教授，但係一直都做唔到。最後佢就將佢自己篇論文交咗俾呢個法拉第，佢法拉第咧就邀請咗佢做呢個大學教授。嗰陣時佢已經60幾歲，好慘，好慘。Okay, so and then the Lenz's law, so it's quite complicated for the Lenz's law, but remember that it is 渣男定律就得啦。OK， 記住越嚟越多 field lines， 佢咧就整啲 field lines opposite to the trend； 越嚟越少 field lines， 咁佢就整翻啲 field lines 同原本個 trend 係一樣，就係咁。Okay. And then let's see another checkpoint. So a conducting wire is moved in a uniform magnetic field in the following situations. Will an EMF be induced across the two ends? So if yes, what is the directions of the induced EMF? 係啦，冇錯啦，呢個咧就同啱啱嗰個係一樣嘅，唔知點解又出現咗一次。Okay, so true or false, the magnitude of the EMF induced across a metal rock depends on the resistance of the rock. Okay, so I will give you 20 seconds for each checkpoint. Okay, so the answer is wrong. Okay, why? Since we close to IR, but the induced EMF will not be changed by the resistance, but the current will change by the resistance. Okay, so the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate at which the conductor cuts the field lines or the change in the numbers of field lines. So it does not depend on the resistance of the rock. However, the induced current will change. So B, the EMF induced in a conductor increases over time if the conductor cuts the field lines at a steady rate. Okay, so the answer again is wrong. The EMF induced is constant if the conductor cut the magnetic field lines at a steady rate. So according to the Faraday's law, so the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of cutting field lines or the changing field lines. So the rate of the changing in magnetic field lines. So in this case, the rate of changing is magnetic field lines is a constant. Okay, so the induced voltage doesn't change. 咁樣你就咁睇可能唔明，但係你可以想象一下，如果你一嚿磁鐵咧，用一個 constant velocity move toward a coil， 咁咧你嗰個 coil 嘅 current 啫，咁就係 constant 啦。你只會喐得越嚟越快或者越嚟越慢嘅時候咧，咁 current 先會改變。So in the following situations, will there be an induced EMF across PQ? Yes or no? Okay, so you can apply the Lenz's law. Yes, because the numbers of field lines is dropping. Okay, so less and less dots will pass through this loop. So that what will the diagram do in this situation? Yeah, sorry. So it will create some dot, right? So that there will be the induced EMF. 我講緊啱啱個題，因為我唔小心按咗 click 咗下題。So in the following situations, will there be the induced EMF across PQ? magnetic field So the magnetic field lines will move come from the North Pole to the South Pole. Okay. Don't forget that the field lines can't cross each other. 咁咧我就錯咗啦呢度。我冇諗住刷啦已經。Okay. So when it is rotating, then this part will rotate to situations that point to the two head to head, right? So in this case, the magnetic field strength will be increased. 即係當嚿磁鐵如果轉到去呢個位嘅時候咧，咁咧佢通過下面個 coil 嗰個 field lines 就會多咗或者強。咁喺呢個時候咧就有 change in magnetic field lines， 所以咧就會有 induced EMF。So Lenz's law is the result of the conservation of energy, true or false? True啦 because the laws of conservation of energy is already correct. So if a circuit is open, there will be no induced EMF.咁係唔啱嘅。就算咧佢係 open circuit 啫 there will still be induced EMF but no induced current only. Okay, so it's like the battery. So if you're moving a wire into a magnetic field, then you have a battery. So for a battery, even there is no complete circuit, okay, so the batteries can still have its own voltage, right? 嚿電芯就算你冇駁線咧，咁佢都有 voltage， 佢只不過冇 current 啫。So when a coil cuts the field lines, a current must be induced in the coil. Okay, so what's your answer? So now, if the numbers of enclosed field lines remain unchanged, then there will not induce EMF. So for example, if you have a very large area of magnetic fields, so if you put a ring moving inside into this magnetic field, because the numbers of enclosed field lines doesn't change, then there will be no induced EMF. Okay, so even the loop is cutting the magnetic field lines. However, if the numbers of enclosed field lines doesn't change, then there will be no induced magnetic field. So electrical energy is produced by the electromagnetic induction. So wrong. Electrical energy is converted from the mechanical energy that is used to move the magnet. Okay, so the kinetic energy is converted into the electrical power, but not created from nothing. 如果你可以唔需要 energy 就可以 create 到 electrical energy 咧，咁你就發出達。即係你發電嘅時候咧，就唔需要用任何成本。To use the Lenz's law to determine the directions of the induced current. Okay, so when the loop moves into the magnetic field, and more cross will be enclosed. So the loop will create some dot. The loop will create some dot. So when it creates a dot, then use the right-hand grip rule, then you will find that the directions of the current is moving in anti-clockwise. Or you can apply the filament right-hand rules. You can use the VBI rules for this loop, then you will get the same result. Okay, so I'll give you 10 seconds. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so number 4 indicates the directions of currents induced in the coil and the magnetic poles induced at the two ends of the coil.好啦，咁而家教你一個簡單啲方法咧，因為咧佢一定會令到呢嚿嘢行慢啲噶嘛，咁所以咧呢邊一定係 North Pole，呢邊一定係 South Pole，咁所以個 magnetic field lines 咧一定係喺呢度行出嚟。OK， 咁咧你再用翻呢個 right hand grip rule 就可以揾到 directions of current， 就係咁樣。因為個 magnet 一定會行得慢啲，所以咧就你可以咁樣去揾啦，咁就簡單啲。好啦，呢嚿行過去都係一樣嘅喎，係咪？咁佢越嚟越近呢嚿 magnet 啫嘛，你行緊過去咪即係好似人哋行緊過嚟咁樣，係同一個情況，咁所以咧佢都會越行越慢，就係咁樣啦。所以呢邊都係 north， 呢邊都係 south。係啊，唔小心暗咗，咁咧借住呢個題目咧再嚟做多次啊。如果係咁樣，如果一嚿 magnet moving to the left hand side， 跟住 so you have a solenoid here. Okay, so what is the directions of the current? 咁咧佢而家走緊啊嘛，係嘛？咁佢令到佢減速或者唔想佢走啊，唔想佢走咁可以點啊？呢度係 North Pole，呢度係 South Pole。OK， 都係一樣嘅。咁所以你記住 呢個 solenoid 咧，佢 induce 出嚟個 pulse 咧，佢永遠都係會 attract 或者 repel 嗰嚿 magnet，令到佢行得慢啲。OK， 令到佢行得慢啲，因為佢而家走緊啊嘛，咁你吸住佢咪可以令到佢行得慢啲。如果佢行緊過嚟，你 repel 佢咪可以令佢行得慢啲。咁所以咧，你可以先揾呢個 directions of pulse and then you use the right hand grip through to find the directions of current. Okay, so suggest few ways to increase the induced current in the coil. So you can think of the Faraday's law. How can she apply the Faraday's law to increase the induced current? 或者你喺日常生活中嘅例子諗下，我咪有一次轉過嗰個 motor，整著盞燈你睇下，咁點樣可以令盞燈光啲啊？Okay, so move the magnet or the coil in a faster rate. So increase the turn density of the coil. Use a stronger magnet. 即係整多幾個圈，用個 stronger magnet. So move the magnet faster. 咁睇下呢題啊。So the pendulum is pulled back and then allowed to swing. Can the following case the pendulum come to rest more quickly? So replacing the magnet with a stronger one. Okay, so the answer is no, because there is no current induced in the coil. So there is no opposing motion because it's an open coil, right? So if there is open coil, then there will be no current. If it's closed coil, then this can make the pendulum to stop more quickly. However, if it's an open coil, then it won't have such an effect. So connecting the ends of a coil by a piece of copper wire. So in this case, if you connect these two ends, then it becomes a closed circuit, right? So for a closed circuit, if it swing to this position, that's more the field lines pass through the coil will in its maximum number. So more field lines pass through the coil for this position. So there is change in magnetic field, and then there will be induced EMF. 就咁寫。There will be induced EMF. This is the symbol for induced EMF. Then the kinetic energy convert into the electrical power. Okay, so the velocity will be decreased, and it come to rest more quickly. Yes, there is current induced in the coil, so the motions of the coil is opposed, or it slows down. So true or false? A light, flexible wire loop is freely hands on a smooth horizontal rail. If a magnet approaches the loop from the right, the loop will be repelled to the left. Yes or no? 你自己試下，如果有一嚿咁嘅行緊過去，係嘛？咁佢咪唔俾佢行過去啊？所以呢邊會變咗 North Pole，呢邊變咗 South Pole，或者咧越嚟越多 field line 向左，咁佢就 create field line 向呢度。咁所以佢哋會 repel， 咁所以咧答案就係啱啦，佢會 repel 嘅。嗱，你翻屋企可以攞自己隻戒指，或者攞啲耳環嚟試下。 Okay, so I'll give you 30 seconds to think about this example. Okay, so again, things of this situation. So when there is a magnet coming close to break the loop, then this end will become north pole, the other end becomes south pole, and then the current will be like this. Okay, so according to the right-hand grid rules, and you can find the directions of force. Use the left-hand rules. Use FBI, okay? Because there is current inside the loop, and there is external magnetic fields. So if we focus on this end, then we will find that the current pointing up, magnetic field point toward the left-hand side. So what is the directions of force? So use left-hand rules, then you will find that the directions of force is pointing out of the paper, right? So pointing out of the paper. So what is pointing out of the paper on this ring, which is point toward the center? Okay, so you can try to find the directions of force for this end. Then you will find that the force is also point toward the center. So if you have a ring and all the force is point toward the center, then the ring will become smaller in size. OK， 咁有個人性化呢個諗法嘅就係咧，因為而家越嚟越多 field lines pass through the loop 咁咧，所以咧佢就想變細啲，令到少啲 field lines 會通過呢個 loop。OK， 所以你兩種諗法都得嘅。哇，仲有7版，仲辛苦我教一堂，我唔得啦。哇正1版啦咁樣，好辛苦啊，就嚟唔得啦，你自己做啦不如。Will there be an induced EMF across PQ at the instant when switch S is closed? Briefly explain. 如果佢一直都 close， 咁冇錯，佢係一直都有發生咩事啊？佢 close 咪 close， 佢又冇 current， 黐線。咁冇啦。There is no change of the enclosed field lines in the coils across PQ when the switch S is closed. 好啦，而家加咗粒電池啦，真係當我黐線。加咗粒電池咧，咁就有 directions of current 啦。因為咧，佢一開或者閂嘅時候咧，咁就 change in field lines。開或者閂啊，記住。咁佢一直都開或者一直都閂咧，咁佢冇 change in field lines，咁就唔會有 induced EMF 啦。自己揾啦嚇。好攰啊！放我返學校，我唔得啦。好啦，咁你而家越嚟越多 field line 向左邊啊嘛，咁呢度友仔咧又好唔中意咁多 field line 向左邊啦，咁你 create 啲 field line 向右邊啦，跟住就用呢個 right hand grip tool， 跟住就發現 the directions of current is reversed. Yeah, I am correct. 咁你記住咧 ，from Q to P 咧，其實可以講兩個方向，由呢度到呢度又係 Q to P， 由呢度到呢度又係 Q to P， 係咪咁？究竟邊個方向咧？但係人哋話咗俾你聽 ，the current flowing through out 咁所以咧就係 Q through out to P， 咁就所以係我畫個 direction。我係咪好叻咧？仲有4版。如果 remain close 咁梗係冇啦 ，remain close 咧咁就一直都有 field lines 啊嘛，係咪？咁所以咧就唔會有 change in enclosed field lines， 即係佢一直都係咁多 field lines 咧，咁就唔會有 current 即係如果你一直都咁中意你男朋友，冇變多或者變少咧，咁你男朋友就唔會有 induced field lines 即係你男朋友咧就唔會繼續愛你，就係咁。男人就係咁賤格。 果 reopen 咧，咁就有啦。嗱 reopen 即係咩事啊？即係你而家同佢分手啊！你而家同佢分手啦，原本咧就有呢個 feel line 向住左邊，原本有 feel line 向住左邊，你而家同佢分手啦，冇咗啲 feel line，你話要走啦，你個渣，咁會發生咩事咧？唉，咁咧佢就會想整翻啲 feel line 向住左邊，你唔好走啦，咁樣。我唔得，我黐先，快啲 skip 埋呢兩個。我唔得啦，快啲揾人揀咗佢啦！點解啊？B， 自己快諗下。Yes！ 我已經整切功課啦，太辛苦啦。我聽日 send 功課俾你哋，順便 send 埋 exam correction。